Hey, I'm Jade Keogh.
And hello from me too, I'm Grace Seeley.
We both play for the Millwall Lionesses and are sponsored by the No One Likes Us talking team.
Why not sponsor one of our teammates just like they do?
To find out how, just email
kwebster@millwallcommunity.org.uk.
I'll say that again.
kwebster@millwallcommunity.org.uk.
In your email, say who you want to sponsor and we'll get back to you with the sponsorship details and what to do next.
This is all you have to do and it will help us to get back to where we belong. Thank you, guys.
Now, enjoy our Millwall fan show from No One Likes Us talking team.
Come on, Mir.
Bethany Warren here, and you've joined us for the weekly Our Millwall fan show with the Millwall No One Likes Us talking team, which is broadcast every Friday evening. Enjoy!
A great strike from Fleming down Stoke, and he does similar at Luton, but it was a different ending. I'm your host, Eamonn Barclay, and with me I have the No One Likes Us talking team of Dave Hart, Ted Robinson, and Myles Thornton.
Not everybody likes them, but they don't care.
Evening, Dave. How is it?
I'm all well. Very good, Eamon. Thanks.
Good, good. And how about you, Ted?
Living the dream, Eamon. Living
the dream. That's good to hear. And what about you, Myles?
Very good, thank you, Eamon. You?
Yeah, well, that's very kind of you to ask. Yes, I'm okay too. Wonderful. Anyhow, let's have a concentration on the Stoke and the Luton games. First off, Dave, talk me through your thoughts on that game against Stoke.
This was a game that could have gone either way on the day. I mean, obviously, I always expect a win when they're away, so I was hoping that would keep going. But the way that Fleming literally waltzed through their defence, 4 players in front of him and just slides the ball in the net was sublime. It was absolutely great. And then they were so woeful on the day, Stoke. In a way, it takes a bit of the shine off of our win.
Yeah, I think they didn't try hard enough. That was my view. But nonetheless, Fleming back on the old goal streak and 3 bids allegedly in from Nottingham Forest to take him to the Premier League next season. We'll have to wait and see about that. Myles, what was your take on the game at Luton? You reported on that for Maritime.
Yeah, it was an exciting one, let's say that. Chances at both ends, and we could have easily given away 2 penalties. Zian Fleming's shot was fluffed by the keeper and ended up in the back of the net. A little lucky there, and Bradshaw put us ahead from a really tiki-taka football, is what I saw on the replay. But no, I think it was a really good game. If you told me before the game we'd draw 2-2 with a team who are on the same points as us and the same goal difference, I'd be really happy. So yeah, good game.
Yeah. Mustn't forget that was an offside goal as well. So it could have been a different story. Ted, how would you compare and contrast those 2 games?
Well, let's sort one thing out first, Eamon. Why would Fleming want to go to Nottingham Forest when they're going to the Championship and we're going to the Premier League? That doesn't make any sense to me. But look, the Stoke game is the sort of game that gets your team into the playoffs or into promoted. Any side that goes up from any division has games like that at Stoke where you're under the cosh for quite a while, but a little bit of brilliance, as Dave quite rightly described it from Fleming, the way he went out of defence and the way he actually took it. I mean, it reminded me a little bit of the greatest goal scorer I think there's ever been in Jimmy Greaves, the way he's just sort of passed it into the net. Yeah. And then, at times throughout the season when you're not at your best or you've got your strongest side out, but you still want to pick up points, they've gone to Stoke and ground out a result. And that's why, although at Luton, everyone would be slightly disappointed at the end because we'd been 2-0 up. But to take another point at Luton after the run of games that we've had, if you'd have said at the start of their last four games that we was going to get the amount of points we did out of Burnley, Sheffield United, Luton, who three out of the top four teams in the division, and what is always a difficult game away at Stoke, I think we'd all bit one another's hands off. So I can't find anything negative about this side at the moment, because even if they're not playing well, they're battling well, they're fighting, and Luton was one of them. Yes, we had a bit of luck, and you know, you're quite rightly, on another day neither of them goals would have been scored, would they?
No.
But the bottom line was, it was another battling performance, and I've got to quickly mention Ryan Leonard, who came in having not played for a long while and I thought was pretty outstanding, run himself into the ground, because at the end of the day, to lose Saville and Billy Mitchell in the middle of the park, it's massive, and Shackleton's done brilliant as well. So listen, I'm over the moon with this side at the moment, and hopefully we carry on the way we're going, and I see no reason why not. If we can get a couple of people back from injury as well, you know, and that was the positive from the other night, was that Duncan Watmore and Oliver Burke both came on the pitch, which hopefully means they're going to be available to a Saturday.
Yeah, let's hope all things come together for Saturday. Currently, the Docker stand is sold out, apart from a very limited number of tickets in certain blocks and Zampa's family stand. And you have to be an adult with a junior under the age of 16 to go in there. The Barry Kitchener stand is sold out with limited tickets remaining the lower tier, and that will be the tier at the end that's very close to the away stand, and block 6 up in the upper tier, which is all right next to Coldblow Lane. Limited tickets remain, meanwhile, in all blocks within the Coldblow Lane stand. And I think Stan said to me he's got a few spots close to him if you want to join him there on Saturday. So that's the status of tickets.
Stan's always got a few seats around him.
Is that right?
I don't know why. It's a common thing in that stand. If you look closely, there's always a little space next to Stanley. I don't know why. A little bit of an impasse. We'll leave that there then, and let's go on to other things. Don't forget to stand and give a minute's applause on the 8th minute on Saturday for Teddy Davis's Mavi-Mae, who was born on the 14th of February. Sadly, she passed away. The 8 days Teddy had with you was the hardest but best 8 days of his life, he said on Twitter, and added, I'll forever be grateful for you. R.I.P. my shining star. Daddy loves you. With a big kiss. Rest in peace, Mavi-Mae, and our sincere condolences go out to Teddy, the family and friends. Before we listen to Debbie Julians, here is Paul Owens from Fisher FC, or the Fish.
Hi, I'm Paul, a Millwall and Fisher FC supporter. There's always been strong links between our clubs, and as such, Fisher FC would like to remind Millwall season ticket holders and supporters club members that entry to watch Fisher is just a £5 if you show your card at the gate. Our next home games in March are on Saturday the 4th versus Lawswood, Tuesday the 7th versus Sutton Athletic, and Tuesday the 14th versus Deal Town.
Well, if you can't get into the Den on Saturday, you know where you can go. So you can try that one out. Anyway, we'll take a break there, and we will be back with our first guest this evening. But for now, let's listen to Debbie Julians talking about our sponsor, G&M Motors.
Our Millwall Fan Show is sponsored by family business G&M Motors of Gravesend and Meopham in Kent. They are Millwall fans too. They've been Honda dealers for over 50 years. At G&M Motors Gravesend, you can purchase a new Honda. At both Gravesend and Meopham, they have a combined range of over 150 quality used cars and ex-demonstrators to suit all budgets and lifestyles. They also offer a comprehensive range of repair and maintenance services to ensure your vehicle stays reliable, safe, and retains a higher value with trust. G&M Motors, Gravesend and Meopham are dear friends of the Julians family. From Lenny to Debbie, and also our Millwall Fan Show.
Well, I'm your host, Eamonn Barclay, and with me I have the No One Likes Us talking team of Dave Hart, Ted Robinson and Myles Thornton. Many thanks to our sponsors, G&M Motors of Gravesend and Meopham. Our first guest was Croydon-born, and he began his youth career at Islington St Mary's and then Carshalton Athletic. He then signed for QPR, but without a game, returned to Croydon and joined, Crystal Palace, where he enjoyed Premier League football before joining us in July 1995. £220,000. At Millwall, he made his greatest number of career performances. He played in 160 games and kept the bench warm on a further 11 occasions before being released in May 2001 and then joining Colchester United. Whilst with us, he played twice for St Kitts and St Nevis. Beyond the U's, he had stints with Gravesend and Northfleet and Bromley, where he hung up his boots after more than 400 games. He didn't leave football behind, though, and started coaching at Bromley before that ended. And today, he's a technical director of Valenti Academy. Without saying any more, let's say hello to Bobby Bowry. Hello.
Good evening. Thank you for that very warm welcome and all the past history. Yeah,
there's a bit in it. There could have been a lot more, actually.
There could have been.
Yeah. Look, Bobby, before I hand you over to the panel,
yes,
you've kept yourself busy in football since hanging up your boots. Coaching seems to be your business, and you're also an agent too. And we had Phil Coleman telling me, who's part of our team, that he obviously met up with you at Colchester, and then subsequently you looked after his boy, who started off at Colchester and moved on a bit.
Yeah, no, it's been a bit of a journey, if I'm honest with you, Eamonn, in terms of staying involved in football. I'd already done my coaching stuff when I was really at Crystal Palace, if I'm honest with you. I loved it. The agency sort of came about because obviously you're in the environment where you're working with players. Luckily, one of my first players was actually my boot boy, Stephen Reid. So we moved into Blackburn, which was unbelievable. And subsequently we've had probably quite a few of the players in the end, Richard Sadler at some point. Most recently, sort of Byron Webster, Aidan O'Brien, those kind of lads. It's been a great place to obviously manage players, and obviously going back to the Den to watch some really good games of late. Interesting now. Mr. Rowett is doing with the not so much a change of formation and a change of style, but he's got a team at the moment hard to beat, very resilient, and playing some fantastic football. So it's actually been a pleasure going down there. A couple of times I've been down there to watch a couple of the games.
Well, that's a bonus then, because the rest of the fans want him out. But you can never please everyone all the time, can you? That's the way it is.
If you look at where Millwall are in the league compared to their budget, I think you'd be mighty pleased in terms of what they're achieving this year. And obviously last year they were a bit unlucky to not actually make the playoffs in the end, I think. Them and Luton are probably the two teams who are punching way above their financial backing at the moment. But listen, it'd be a dream if it would be a great place to go and watch a playoff game at the Den. Whoever you are, you wouldn't fancy playing Millwall at the Den in a playoff game.
Ever. No one does. And of course, our Jeff Burnage said, well, say to Bobby, he'll always be a great memory for me. But more than being a great memory, he said, he's a very respected person in the game. And I know that. So,
oh, no, listen, Jeff, I remember made us really welcome when we was at the club, obviously, with the old chairman, Reg and the guys there, and Peter Mead, really top people.
Yeah.
And you know what, actually Jeff did a lot of great work behind the scenes. I remember it was quite integral of us buying the Uwe Fuchs, if I remember rightly.
Oh, yeah.
So you had the lad Fuchs, and then did we not get the two? We got the two Russian lads who one
just
of them
for fun.
He was actually one of the best players in Europe at the time, I reckon.
Yeah.
Was it Sergei Uran?
Sergei Uran. Yeah.
One of the best drinkers.
And I remember, chaps, one day at Grimsby away, of all places, and before the game I can see cigar rings being smoked out the toilets. Alex Ray, Ben Thatcher, those kind of lads there who are just diamonds to play with and actually really good people as well. And obviously, I was lucky that I'm still really quite close to him now. Mick McCarthy, I thought at the time was, unbelievable in terms of where we were in the league. And then obviously when he left, we sort of plummeted under Jimmy Nicholl, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a roller coaster time. I've enjoyed going back there so many times, watching so many good games. One of my players I actually brought to the football club after coaching him and then becoming Millwall captain was Paul Robinson.
Oh.
And that was probably one of my greatest moments when he scored the winner, Swindon, in the playoff. Yeah. And obviously Robbo's still working at the club. I brought him to the club at 15 years of age, having got released at Watford. And what a person he is, by the way. It's great that he's managed to stay involved with the club. Obviously, coming through at the time, you had Neil Harris and those kind of lads there coming through. Absolutely legend of a striker, great person as well, good friend of mine, along with David Livermore. Hopefully, I can keep Gillingham up this year, and that's going to be a tough task, but hopefully they'll be able to do that. But it's been a great experience having played, so many games, but actually the away fans, I've never experienced anything like it, to be honest with you. They were just knockout in terms of their support for us away from home, really, really good.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And then our next guest that we got on the show tonight, Patricio Fenick-Sanchez. He's a bit of a fan of yours as well. Yeah,
I came across this young coach probably about 10 years ago. He was coaching, and he was always going to go and do something quite well. Spent a lot of time developing these young players off the South London streets, and he dropped me a voice message earlier on saying that he's going to be coming on the show and that he's now working at Millwall. He'd be a good catch for Millwall because he knows where the good players are, coaches the right way, and very enthusiastic young man. Yeah, he comes across that way, and we'll tell him that what you just said. But for now, problem. I'll pass you over to the panel. No problem.
Hello, Bobby. Dave here.
Hi, Dave.
It's great to hear you. It's great to hear you talking about all these old players and managers and stuff. So let's go back to the beginning. Can you remind us how the move to Millwall came about, and were there any other interest from any other clubs?
It was a really strange one. We'd just been relegated to the Championship with Palace, so I still had a year left. Derby, Norwich, Leeds all showing interest. Then my agent rang up and said, Millwall interested. I'm thinking, bloody hell, Millwall, okay. We arranged a meeting with Mick McCarthy. I just hit it off with Mick. He just said, we want to try and get not a younger team, but a bit more of a dynamic team. We've got some good players. Obviously, I think the lad Etienne Verveer had just gone, and a couple of others. It was a really good player. I remember actually the year Palace won the league, Millwall absolutely stuffed us might have been a New Year's Day at the Den, maybe 2-3-0. And it was I just thought, what a place to go and play football. I mean, if you can handle playing at Millwall, you can handle anywhere, I believe, in football. But just going back to that, it was Mick McCarthy, there's something about him. He had an aura about him. Obviously, he was a good player, but he just spoke so highly about the club. And he said, if you come in here, the minimum requirement from this lot is you've got to run around, work hard and win tackles and do the other side of it. And then I thought long and hard about it for probably about 2-3 weeks. And then Palace actually offered me a new deal, and I just decided, I liked what Mick was trying to do at the football club.
Yeah, and Mick certainly let you know his opinions from the sidelines during the game, didn't he?
Oh, gee. If I remember rightly, I'd gone in there 3 days, and we had a pre-season trip to Dublin. And you had, do you remember him, Tony Witter? What a good player he was, by the way, underrated.
Yes.
Yeah, so he was there. So we went, and Richard Cadet, the little stocky striker who could nick a goal but couldn't run. But he was a really good striker. And I just remember we had a pre-season tour, and he had us running in the bloody sea at like 7:30 in the morning. I'm thinking, what the hell was going on here?
And we played. I think we played Shamrock and a couple of others, and the team spirit we had was just like you had obviously Rhino, who was just like Mr. Millwall, Alex, Ben, Casey Keller, what a great goalkeeper he was, and then pre-season played, and it got a little bit knocked. Actually, not a lot of people noticed. I missed the first game of the season. I was late. I just moved, and I got stuck in the bloody Rovire Tunnel. We were playing Grimsby, first game of the season. I think Bill Wilkinson scored the winner. And I got in there, but I was about half hour late. And Mick went, "No, you're not involved." I thought, "Oh God, what a start this is." I missed 3 games in. We go back to the beloved Palace, and I managed to set up the first goal for Malks with a header. And I got man of the match that day. And then from there, sort of Millwall fans sort of took to me for that period of time because you put one over Crystal Palace. But yeah, listen, that group of players, I've always said that was some of the best players that I'd played with in terms of like people, really good people.
Right. Sorry,
how you doing? You okay?
That was a good start, wasn't it?
No, don't worry.
You already mentioned, mate, that you joined us under Mick McCarthy.
Yeah.
I believe it was Jimmy Nichol, then John Docherty, Billy Bonds, the dynamic duo of Keith Stevens and Alan McCleary.
Yes.
And finally Mark McGee.
Yeah.
So beyond the revolving door of managers there, how would you describe your experiences with these 7 people, 7 managers?
Mick just wore his heart on his sleeve. You'd have young v old on a Friday kicking absolutely shit out of each other. It was unbelievable. And like seriously, it was like just unbelievable. He'd be out doing head tennis with you, coming out, loved it. Jimmy Nichol, he got slaughtered. He was trying to play a brand of football, which nowadays you'd go, cool, you'd love to play in that way. We were very open. I remember pre-season, we didn't do any running. And I think to myself, he'd come from Man United, obviously he'd been a player at Man United, and it was totally different. And the thing that I've probably struggled with him, he probably didn't know the league as well as probably other managers. But, we had some good players. I think we brought down 3 or 4 of the Scottish boys. Stevie Crawford, good footballer, really good player. Jason Deere, Sinclair, Paul Hartley, good player, winger, really good.
Yeah, he was.
He'd been unlucky in terms of, had a couple of injuries, but he was a good player. John Dock, I actually got injured that year with me. I think I might have done me medial ligament. One of the last game of seasons against Preston. I think I remember come off. Who did we say after there? Good God, we had. Well, that was a strange one. Obviously, I'd known, believe it or not, I'd known Pat Holland when I'm actually a Walthamstow boy, East London boy, and I was at Leighton Orient as a sort of 12 to 14, 15-year-old, and Pat Holland actually let me go for being too small. And he comes in the building with Billy, and he says, I made a big mistake on you. I was captain at the time, and he made me captain. He was always going to be on a rocky road, wasn't he, chaps? In terms of he'd been a legend at West Ham, and that was a really brave move by the football club, But if you remember rightly, for the first probably 3 months of the season, we were absolutely up there flying. Doing really, really well. Going to Watford away, doing well. Then he got, obviously, unlucky, got topped. And then Macca and Rhino were there. And you listen, that they got the team playing. They brought in the youngsters, Cahill and Reed and Sadler and all that. And it was, I think, one of my probably only disappointing time there. I don't know if you remember, chat, who you would do. I got sent off at Stoke, didn't I? Really early doors at home. And I ended up, I got a standing ovation after getting sent off after about 6 minutes. It was a bit of a surreal atmosphere. I knew it could happen at Millwall.
We knew you was trying, Bobby. That 6 minutes, you put it all in 6 minutes.
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah, but it's only because you can get clapped off. And we actually won the game. Sadler scored. I think we won the game 1-0, so it was sort of not too bad. Then I was really gutted because I think we played Walsall away in the cup. We beat them on pens, and then might have been Luton, and we beat them. And then my suspension was kicking in, and I was devastated. I actually made the bench for the final, never got on, and I was quite devastated because the other player I thought was a real top player never got on either. Paul Shaw, do you remember him?
Yeah.
And I remember all the fans asking us, "How come we never got on?" And was real difficult because you hurt him because you lost the game. It was I don't know what you think, Chaps. It was a terrible game, wasn't it? Wigan. I think it was a bad game. 1-0. There was nothing in the game, and we've had a bit of heartache, obviously, at Wembley. I remember the Scunthorpe game. I'm really good. I'm really good friends with Gary Alexander. I looked after Gary Alexander, believe it or not, as well. So he's obviously with his goal at Wembley, and then there's some good times there. But Mark McGee was. What was I say about Mark McGee? He was an outstanding coach, and he had a really good man management strength. Because I don't know if you remember this, but he brought Claridge in, and Tony Cotty come in for a bit, and then we had the goal. He was the goalkeeper, Nigel Spink, who was. Listen, I can't tell you how good he was. He was unbelievable. And then obviously you had Daishi, who still good friends with now. We had some good characters in here, and the young ones coming through. Jesus Christ, they were flying. I mean, I remember staying out doing extras with the likes of Reed, Eiffel, Cahill. That they were always going to be top players, and obviously, listen, they've gone on and had unbelievable careers. They were very, very hard-working, very humble people. That group of players actually all used to go out together. It's quite unique. You didn't have any cliques.
No.
Looking back at it, I wouldn't change much. The only thing I would change from me personally was probably being a bit more selfish as a player. Like I look back, I say to a lot of the players I've managed now, always think, be forward thinking, and always think about the next step. And it's not always about the money. It's sometimes about playing, get your names. And if I say one thing to young players these days, there's some players who at Millwall over the last few years who should have probably done better. The lad Marlon Romeo, Fedor Nydinia, a few other lads there, who were good players, but didn't really kick on. I've always liked Danny McNamara. I think he's a great lad. He's done really, really well. Jake Cooper is the modern day sort of Paul Robinson, in terms of being a leader. And they've got a couple of goal scorers now. I think that has always been Millwall's Achilles heel. Is actually having a goal scorer to actually, finish the job off. Bradshaw scores. The lad Fleming looks like he's a good player. It's nice to see him doing so well. So obviously, they're the hardest fans in the world to please sometimes, because sometimes they want to get the ball forward double early.
Bobby,
get that. But the one thing I would say though, I mean, I remember playing at Birmingham away one year. I've never played in an atmosphere like it ever, in terms of the support behind the team, and then even coming back to I think I actually scored in the home game. People might, I know there's a stigma about Millwall fans, but in general, when I go back there now, I can't thank them enough. How welcome they always make me when I'm sat in the director's box or sitting down watching a game. It's quite unique, to be fair, because I played with Palace. I've got a similar relationship with the Palace fans, but Millwall, so I played more games at Millwall, but it's actually great where you see people actually, sort of like nice and happy to see you, which is really, really good. And you speak about the likes of the older players. There's some great people. Jimmy Carter still works at the club. I mean, what a lad he is, Jimmy Carter. Those kind of people there. So hopefully, listen, it's I haven't been down there for the last probably about 3-4 months. I'm looking to go down in the next few weeks. And listen, it's a great place. If they ever got to the promised land now, it's a different level now in terms of when I played in the Premiership. Palace were mid to bottom table now. You're looking at teams like Bournemouth struggling in there with a smaller fan base than the Palace. And finances dictate this, and I think big credit to Gary Rowett and his team of coaches, because they've just been phenomenal in my opinion.
Miles here, Bobby.
Good evening.
Good evening. You made your greatest number of appearances playing for Millwall.
Yeah.
But what did it then feel like on match days, and what players inspired during your stay?
Oh, jeez, that's a good question. That, if I'm honest with you, as long as they saw you giving 100%, they'd back you. It's one of those where, for me, looking at that era, you were judged on the Rhinos and those kind of people there who wore their heart on the sleeve. I don't know if you agree here, chaps. I think it's easier to play at the Den now than it ever has been. In terms of if your player's not having a good game, I haven't really heard the crowd come for a player like they used to there, which is good. I think you've got a different generation of supporter. I think
It's
there's
further to shout now, Bobby. That's the problem.
You think so?
We're still saying it. You just can't. They just can't hear us.
And the one thing I loved was when the behind the goal with the away end. That was brilliant. When that was actually full. I remember playing a few games of Norwich at home, Leicester, and Wolves, and you're thinking, Jesus Christ! Once you get on top, Millwall, the fans are unbelievable. In terms of players, I thought Alex Hay was I thought he was. I played with him. He was good. Cahill was always going to be good. You know, I helped mentor him a little bit, and he had a knack. Tim Cahill will score in the Premiership now because there's not many players that you've seen who score goals from midfield who arrive in the box. At the time, you obviously had Gerrard, Lampard, Scholes types, but Cahill was, my kid, he was a phenomenon at that. Stephen Reid, obviously, he's a big family friend of mine, looked after him, unbelievable person. And it's great to see Sean Dyche do so well and get back in football because he was a good lad as well, in terms of what I saw. Probably the most unlucky player, people always go on about our generation, Richard Sadler.
Yeah.
He might not have been on the eye, but I'll tell you something. When he got Gary Sadler, him and do you remember a lad Paul Moody?
Yeah, Moody.
We had him, but so them two are right handful up front, them two, and obviously Chopper coming in. We had some absolute good players who just kept doing the right things. To be fair.
Yeah, fantastic. Absolutely.
Bobby, you played quite a lot of games for us, but towards the end, you were loaned out to Gillingham. What was that like? Did you feel at that time that your Millwall days were coming to an end?
Yeah, actually, no, that was... I actually didn't get loaned out. I actually didn't know. It was right near the end when it was... Who would have been a manager? It would have been Mark McGee. There was talk about me going to Colchester and a couple of other clubs, and I actually didn't end up going. Actually, spent the rest of the season in the reserves or sub. And that was a really tough thing for me, having been playing a lot, to not playing at all.
Bobby, your coaching career has been quite something as well. Can you talk us through how that progressed and explain your reasoning, I think I might know the answer to this, for not becoming a manager?
Well, managers get sacked for once.
That's it. That's exactly what I thought you'd say.
Yeah. I like being around on the grass with developing young players. One of my good friends who I played with at Millwall and travelled in for probably two years at Colchester is Scott Fitzgerald, the academy manager.
Yeah.
Who's top lad. And I wanted to do. It's a weird one. I actually wanted to do something outside of a football club. So we created a football academy. The agency was obviously up and going. Yeah, I love doing it. I love working. Gary Alexander does a bit of work with me. Simon Osborne, ex-Palace. Dean Austin, the ex-Tottenham player. He coaches. He does my academy in St Albans up that way. It's become quite. Yeah, it's a great business, but actually, it's very rare in life you do something throughout your life that you enjoy doing, chaps.
That's fantastic, isn't it? Absolutely fantastic.
Also, Bobby, I'd like to get your take on the example, the working lives of managers and assistants in the Championship so far this season have been perilous. Like, you don't, as you quite rightly said, they get sacked. 14 out of 24 clubs already making at least one change, and 4 clubs changing their managers twice already. Surely, I think the stability and rebuilding within the rules is the right way ahead. What's your take on why this is always happening? I mean, Millwall's quite a good example there. It should be done, I think.
Yeah, if I look over the past few years, Millwall sort of always give their manager, an ample enough time to succeed and actually build what you just said, build the club. I think the Championship is probably the toughest league in the world. I know everyone goes about the Premiership, but if you look historically, right now in the Championship, you've got clubs who were mid-table regular clubs in the Premier League and now struggling to get out. Norwich have become a yo-yo club. Fulham been up and down. You then got Sheffield United down in there. Burnley have come up. Burnley are flying at the moment. And then you look underneath, you've got in League One, you've got Charlton, Sheffield Wednesday, Ipswich, Bolton. These are massive, probably as bigger clubs than Millwall, you know, in terms of size and fan base. But yet, going back to your question, I just don't think these clubs have got time to wait for a manager. I think if you don't get it right within 6 months, I think you're always looking over your shoulder. And obviously, when you have the transfer windows, if you don't get it right in the transfer windows, you're knackered, really. I mean, Millwall don't seem to do loads of business in the windows, do they, really? But whatever business they've done in the last sort of few years, actually been good business.
Yeah.
Was it Ian Holloway? There was a lot of turnover of players, weren't there? They tried to change the way a little bit, and Ollie's, you know, top bloke, but he had his way of playing. And the thing with Millwall, if they're on the front foot, they're always going to be a dangerous team. I mean, I look after a couple of Luton lads, and I thought once Mill went 2-0 up the other day, I didn't think Luton would come back in that game personally. You know, so actually it's one of those things there. But you know, I just think the amount of money in football, it demands success straight away. So going back to your point, all these clubs are just looking for the next man all the time, aren't they, to try and give that team that get into the promised land and get the old parachute payment money.
Yeah. Well, Bobby, I think Myles is going to ask you a question now.
Okay.
Bobby, what is your most memorable game in a Millwall shirt?
Probably the Palace away game was a big game. There was another really good game we had one night. We beat Everton at Everton.
Yeah.
Unbelievable night that was for us. We played really well that night. Everton has a really good team. That was under Mick. We had a couple of good nights there. They'd probably do 2 games that stand out for me.
That's a standout game in another era as well, when the team of the 1970s went to Everton and won up there in the FA Cup.
I never knew that. Never knew that.
Yeah, so that's twice we've done the turns up there. Anyway, there's never enough time to get all our questions in. But before I let you go, Bobby, it's a tradition on the show for our guests to give a score prediction ahead of our next game, when we entertain Norwich City on Saturday at the Den. So what do you reckon?
Well, I'm going to go for a 2-1 Millwall win.
That seems to be quite commonplace these days.
Yes.
People use the 2-1, and hopefully that'll be the case. And we'll look out for you when you're down there next time.
No,
Thanks
I really
for coming on.
Chaps.
Thanks for coming on to the show. It's been brilliant to talk with you. And there is actually so much more to explore. So all our best to you, your family.
Thank you. That's no problem at all.
We'll
really
get you
appreciate
back
your time, chaps.
in the not too distant future. Bye, Bobby.
Thank you very much. Thank you,
Bobby.
Bye-bye.
Cheers,
Thank
Bobby.
you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Bobby. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
What an interesting person to speak with. I think we've all enjoyed that completely.
Unbelievable knowledge of the game and people.
Yeah.
It's funny. There's lots of people like Bobby Bowry in the background that you don't really hear about or see or whatever.
No.
When you get to talk to them, it's fascinating, really, what they do in football.
It is.
Yeah, he's got a very deep insight to the game.
Yeah.
You know, he really got a good take on the game. He just seems to get his fingers on the pulse of it.
Yeah.
What we didn't say to him, we should have said, make sure you start sending a few more decent players across.
Yeah.
That could be the answer. Mind you, he named a few that he has, and they've been pretty decent.
He ain't done bad.
No, not at all, not at all. Anyway, we'll take a break there and listen to what Bethany Warren says about an evening with Roy Lana and Jeff Burnage.
On Tuesday, the 14th of March, ahead of our game against Swansea City, Roy Lana, who is known for his gallantry at London Bridge in confronting 3 machete-wielding terrorists who murdered and caused mayhem in the area on the night of June the 3rd, 2017. He will be at the Lions Centre in Ballina Road from 5:30pm. The Lion of London Bridge books will be available to purchase, and Roy will sign those books ahead of the main event at 6:15. Our very own Jeff Burnage will then host Roy in discussion and bring questions from the floor. You can hear the story of Roy's hurt, reform, and his ongoing fight for compensation. Arthur Kitchener, singer and songwriter, will also perform Roy Lana, the Lion of London Bridge. The evening closes at 7:15pm to allow fans to get their seats for the match. For tickets, contact k.burnage k.bennett@millwallcommunity.org.uk. So let me say that again. For tickets, contact k.bennett@millwallcommunity.org.uk. And on the night, please make a donation if you can to the Harvey Brown MPS Society, who support families with MPS and similar disorders that cause a range of progressive disabilities.
I'm your host, Eamonn Barclay, and with me are the No One Likes Us talking team over Dave Hart, Ted Robinson and Myles Thornton. Roy, recovering from his physical and psychological injuries and the further hurt on no recognition. Well, listen to Jeff Burnage and Roy Larner explore these matters at the Lions Centre from 5:30 ahead of our game against Swansea City on the 14th of March. Let's hear from Ellis Barr.
Ellis here. Thank you for watching my videos. Now to hear what the Millwall Lionesses and Romans have been up to, and to hear who is next up for Gary Rowett and the Lions. Come on, Millwall!
Well, Ellis, we haven't seen your videos, but what we have seen is you promoting that March is cerebral palsy awareness, and that's great that you're doing that. And for other people with other disabilities, certainly the lookout is to get more people with those disabilities into sport. And I know you'd love that. So hopefully we'll see you kicking that ball round once again. Anyhow, there's been no games for Millwall Romans or Pride, but the Lionesses were busy, and Jeff sends us a report.
This is Jeff Burnage reporting on Millwall Lionesses, and we saw a terrific return to form by the Lionesses in a 2-2 draw with runaway league leaders Worthing, who in fact are unbeaten in the league this season. This return to form came after some confidence-sapping cup exploits, which ended in extra time and on another occasion with penalties. The return to form was a tall order given the excellence of Worthing this season, but the Lionesses tore into the opposition, who'd beaten them in January, down at Worthing, and were on top before, sadly, Chloe Winchester, the Worthing striker, lobbed Hope Smith, the keeper, from fairly short range in the 42nd minute. You would have thought this would have sapped the confidence of the Lionesses after recent setbacks, but none of it. None of that at all. Otisha Charles headed in at the far post from an excellent Jazz August corner on the right-hand side, and at half-time, clearly, much was said by manager Jack Wheeler and his assistant Alex Russell, because Otisha hammered a great shot into the top corner on 47 minutes to put the Lionesses 2-1 ahead, and deservedly so. With confidence now very high, they went for Worthing. First, Emma Witter hammered over when well placed, and then Angel Reid ran half the length of the field, only for the keeper to make an excellent save at the near post. Then on 75 minutes, Worthing scored the equaliser, again from the impressive Chloe Winchester, and it then led to a fiery end to the game when both sides were going for it, hammer and tongs, and Poppy Payne saw red after a tussle with a Worthing player who went unpunished by a youthful referee. But all in all, this was an excellent performance by the Lionesses, and it augurs well for the rest of the season. It was also notable for yet another introduction from our wonderful under-18 squad, with a debut for Ellen Napper in centre midfield. She played in the first half and did really well. This Sunday, Millwall Lionesses are away to Enfield Town at the historic Queen Elizabeth Stadium in Donkey Lane, Enfield at 2 p.m. They will be looking to build on the return to form shown in last week's exciting 2-2 draw with league leaders Worthing. The Lionesses are likely to be without experienced Shana Giordani and definitely midfielder Stefania Paci, but the need to win this match to re-establish their position towards the top of the London and South East Regional League is paramount. The squad were focused in training this week on who among the players and staff would be the most likely to go on Love Island. But manager Jack Wheeler reports that training was not distracted too much and the girls are raring to go. Meanwhile, the under-18s travelled to Nottingham Forest on Saturday in the Junior Premier League, but are still waiting for confirmation of the dates for their two semi-finals, the Capital Women's Cup Junior section and the London FA Under-18 Women's Cup.
They've got their fixtures now, they know where they're at. The girls, on the video I saw on Twitter, identified the most likely one to go on Love Island is Steph Patchy. So we'll have to see what happens there. Dave, promising display against league leaders Worthing, who have not lost this season. Comparable to Millwall versus Burnley result, I suppose. And can they still make up the deficit in points to challenge for promotion? What do you reckon?
Yeah, it's definitely comparable with the Burnley result because, you know, to play a side as talented as Worthing was, and their form at the moment, Millwall Lionesses, is a bit low. Yeah. But they certainly got their teeth stuck into them and deservedly went ahead, as Jeff said. And it's, you know, as it is, like with the Burnley game, they sort of went into like a sleep mode, Burnley, and then when we equalised, they woke up and but it was too late to go for the winner. So all in all, I think things are looking really good, and let's hope the Lionesses keep this going and start with a win at Enfield.
Ted, the younger sides are playing out of their socks. The under-18s had a great win over Actonians and now face Impact's women from north of the river in the semi-final of the Capital Cup. Purportedly to be on the 19th of March. But seeing as they're doing 2 cups that weekend, that may be subject to change. But this is some achievement, isn't it?
Oh, I think there's no doubt about it. The number of under-18s that have moved into the first team, Eamonn, that the under-18 squad itself is something quite special, I think. And as they're only 18-year-olds or under-18s, they can only get better. And we've got a number of good girls that are coming through, and at the moment, the under-18s, their self-side, you know, the ones that are staying behind, if you know what I mean, and not pushing for the first team, are still performing wonderfully well. Like, you know, and I will be amazed if that under-18s do not win something this year, because if ever there's a side that deserves to win a trophy, I think it's these girls. And I think we said it the other week, Eamonn, when you've got an under-18 side that are playing so well like that, and you know, Jack can bring them up into the first team, and that it just can only bode well for the future. And they deserve to win something themselves. Hopefully, with the progression that they're making, they'll take the Lionesses to a promotion. You know, the one thing you talk about young sides and young players is that it tends to be a dip in form, which may be partly why the Lionesses went. But they seem to be going and going at the under-18s altogether. And I say, hopefully, what I feel comes true, and they do win something this year, and it's something we should all be proud of.
Yeah, I think so. I definitely believe that. As we know, Miles reports on the Romans and Pride. Just can you give us an update and let us know where the Romans stand in the league in relation to the chasing Charlton and others? And are you still confident they can still wrap the league up?
Yeah, of course, Eamon. So the Romans stay top of the league on 33 points and having played and won all of their 11 games. However, second place, Charlton and Fleck are chasing down the Romans. They've now played both of the games in hand that they had, and they sit 3 points behind the Romans. When I last reported for them, Charlton had 9 points behind the Romans, so they're catching up. However, I do think they will wrap up and win the league because they haven't lost yet this season. Hopefully they can continue that. I think they can with the squad that they have. I watched them before and they look really good. Hopefully I've just cursed them, but otherwise Paul Odin will be hunting me down. But no, I hope they do win the league.
Yeah, they've got all the potential. I'm sure that we all wish all our teams that they get the success that they deserve. When Saturday comes, It's that big game for us when we face Norwich City at the Den for a 3 p.m. kickoff. For us, the influential Billy Mitchell, Mason Bennett, Callum Stiles and Tyler Bury continue to all be set for lengthy spells on the sidelines. The Lions were defeated by the Canaries at Carrow Road back in August by 2-0. Their form has definitely started to improve of late. Their last 5 games have returned 3 wins, 1 loss and a draw. They now sit 2 points and 2 paces below us in the table. Since the Luton result, the odds on Millwall win have actually shortened. I couldn't quite make that out. But that's gone to 8-5 for us to win. A draw is 2-1, as is a Norwich win. But nonetheless, they all are tight odds. So, Dave, what do you think we can do when we face Norwich? And what about a prediction too?
Yeah, they're ex-Premiership, so obviously they're not going to be a pushover, but we're at home, we're playing, we've got a lot of confidence. They've picked up a little bit. I think they're missing Sargent, but they've still got writers of Pookie and Ida up front, so they'll play at a lot of pace. So we've just got to make sure that our defence is on top form on Saturday, and with a bit of luck we'll win 2-1.
Okay. Ted, what about you?
I'll tell you what, I was just listening to the names that you was talking there that are injured. It'd be nice to have a few of them back, wouldn't it, eventually?
Yeah.
Sometime this season. Hopefully after the international break. But look, Norwich are always a decent side. I've been a bit surprised about how they've played this year. I thought Dennis Smith would take them somewhere, but he didn't. And now they've got Wagner back and they've started to play a bit again.
Yeah.
They've got a sort of forward line that tends to cause us a little bit of problems with, like Dave said, with the pace that they've got. They've scored 1 or 2 cracking goals recently and all. But the one thing I've noticed with Norwich as well is you can get at them. They're a little bit iffy in defence at times. And hopefully with Watmore and Burke available, fingers crossed, I think we've got enough in us to do some damage on Norwich. It won't be easy. As Dave quite rightly said, they are one of the sides that come down from the Premier, which tends to mean they're one of the better sides in the division. And obviously, being only 2 points behind us, they'll be looking to try and get themselves into the playoffs by beating us. So it's going to be a tough one, a real tough game. But the fight and determination this side's been showing of recently, and the fact that we're at home, which so far has been really good for us this season, I still believe that we're going to come out on top, and I'm going to go. I'm going to go 2-0 to the Lions.
Okay, Ted. Myles, you'll be reporting for Maritime Radio, so you'll have done a bit of homework already, I would imagine. What do you reckon?
Yeah, as Ted mentioned there, they are obviously ex-Premier League, and they did come down, and I think they thought they'd go straight back up like they have been. I personally thought they would go up with Burnley, but that's not the case. I personally think both sides will get a playoffs, hopefully a playoff spot for both sides. They are a good team. You look at our injuries and think, but then you look at the players who have come in for those who were injured and see how well they've done. I'm going to go with a 1-0 win.
Okay, Myles, thank you for that. Yeah, well, we're all positive that there's a win out there. I hope we can see Saville back, actually, because I think we missed him. He makes some really decisive tackles and knows how to run the ball down. So let's hope, fingers crossed, he can get out there and do the business on Saturday. But
I think he only has cramp on Tuesday night.
That was right. His calves were tight.
Hopefully that'll be sorted out.
Yeah,
he is the one player for us in the middle of the park that does put his foot on the ball.
He does.
You say, Eamonn, the guys that play around him tend to be. Not that he hasn't got legs, but more doing the running. You know, if you see what Billy Mitchell done, Shackleton does, and Ryan Lennon done the other night, you know, they can all do that alongside Saville. So you're right to point it out. I think he is an important player for us.
He is. He's presenting the form that got him a transfer up to the North East at the moment. So let's be hopeful, and let's see him back to take us through. Anyhow, we'll take a break there and listen to Bethany Warren once again, this time talking about how to sponsor or donate to the Millwall Community Trust.
The work of the Millwall Community Trust makes a big difference for people in Lewisham, Southwark and North Kent. Times are getting tougher, and to help them make a difference, you can help too, by making a donation. Give a one-off donation or a monthly amount. Your support is crucial in raising vital funds for their work, or by fundraising for them. If you are running, swimming, cycling, cooking, dancing, parachuting or anything else, why not do it for the Millwall Community Trust? Interested? Then either email inquiries@millwallcommunity.org.uk or phone 0207 740 0503. I'll say that again. Email inquiries@millwallcommunity.org.uk or phone 0207 740 0503. Thanks if you can.
I'm your host, Eamonn Barclay. With me, I have the No One Likes Us talking team of Dave Hart, Ted Robinson and Myles Thornton. If you can do any of those things that Bethany mentioned, it will go a long way to support the Millwall Community Trust in supporting the needs of the community. Our final guest tonight is Millwall Community Trust's Pat Fenick-Sanchez. As previously mentioned, he was thought of quite highly by Bobby Bowry when he met him a good many years ago. And Bobby was totally and utterly delighted to know that there he was at Millwall. And he spoke very highly of him. He is a recent addition to the Millwall community and is here to talk about his projects. Welcome, Pat.
Hi, thank you for the very nice introduction, Eamonn. So yeah, I am Pat. I am very delighted to be on tonight and to tell everyone why I've joined Millwall Community Trust. My role is Football and Sport Development Officer, and it's really exciting because I grew up in South London, Brixton, and I was always involved in football. So now I'm really at a time where I can really grow the program, and especially within my local community, so it really feels at home. So that's really nice. So I started in February, and it feels good so far, and I'm looking forward to growing so far.
Well, we hope you do, and welcome to Millwall. I'll hand you over to Myles now.
Hi, Myles.
Hello, Pat. Myles here. Can you tell us what your role is at the Trust and who are your co-workers?
Yeah, sure. So my role is exclusively Football and Sport Development Officer, and that involves primarily growing the development centres, and it's a player pathway that we have which is linked to the academy. And we recently had a guy, a young lad called Meopham, who I think Tim spoke about possibly last week or a few weeks ago.
Yeah, Tim and his dad, yeah, they were on last week.
Yeah, and so as I said before, it's really exciting because that's sort of what I'm going to focus most on and what I've been asked to do. I work with Tim, who I assist, so I help out Tim, and he's my manager. And we have a really good team at Millwall Community Trust. We recently appointed a post-16 manager, Stuart, who I think he will be delighted to come on board as well. So maybe we can get him on at some point also.
Yeah, he's on the list.
Brilliant. So that's my role. I'm also involved in trying to grow more development centres for the local community, and try and just develop football as much as possible, because I know that there is lots of talent in South London, and we can use football as a great tool to, really engage everyone and just increase participation for the well-being of everyone, I believe.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Evening, Pat. It's Dave here.
Hi, Dave.
Can you expand a bit on the projects that you manage?
So the Player Pathway is a project that it runs every Tuesday for ages 7 to 11, and that's based at St Paul's Sports Ground. And we have highly qualified coaches there, level 2 minimum, and UEFA B. We have around half UEFA B coaches. So it's a good environment for players to really develop. So I would say to people that are listening and that have young aspiring footballers to come along and see the sessions. They run from 4:30 till 6 p.m. on a Tuesday, 7 to 11-year-olds, and on a Friday, 12 to 16-year-olds. And we also have a specific goalkeeping session which runs on the same day. So if goalkeepers want to develop, then they come as well. So it's really good in terms of the pathway, and there's a clear pathway as we saw with Meopham. So hopefully we can continue to grow. And Millwall as a club, which I think is amazing as well, and it's even more exciting for me and everyone involved at the trust, is that they're so helpful, as I say, in terms of building good, like having a really close relationship, which I'm not sure many other clubs and community trusts have. And I feel that's a real positive moving forward. So that's the main project that I do. There are other people that have programs that are based in local communities, but my specific one is the Player Performance Pathway, which runs on a Tuesday and a Friday at St Paul's Sports Ground. Probably one of the best venues in South London.
Let's hope you continue the way you're going, Pat, and long may you succeed.
Thank you very much. As again, I say, the team around me has been really helpful. Tim's been really helpful in getting me on board, and yeah, again, I'm through and through football. I played for Athenley Football Club as a young boy, which is linked, I think, to Millwall as well, because I had one of my presentation nights was at the stadium, one of my end of awards ceremony. So, and I've also played for South London, so I'm always involved in football, and now that I'm in a position that I can give back to my community, it feels really good.
Yeah. Well,
hi, that's Ted here.
Hi, Ted.
I'll tell you what, Pat, you might need your boots while our injury list is going at Millwall. You might get a game in there before long. But, well, what would you recommend to parents? Because obviously you have to go sort of through the parents for kids to come along and that, Pat, and interested in having their children join the programmes and other individuals interested in participating. How would you sort of recommend your programmes? And lastly, how do people join?
Yeah, so, yeah, thanks for mentioning that. So the programme is, again, based for 7 to 11-year-olds, but we, again, because it's a development centre, there's a certain standard that is expected. So what we recommend to parents is to ideally kids that have been playing football or that are in a team already, because what we do, again, is we don't want to create an environment where players come along and they don't enjoy it. So it's important for us to create that balance. So again, what I recommend to parents is to really check our website, which is always being updated, and when you come on board to the projects, to be open-minded, to really, what I really think is important is to, after the sessions, in any session really, is to ask, to be important, to not focus on the winning aspect, to focus on the having fun, to ask questions around how much they enjoyed it. And I think that way the player will always develop, because if you think a young player has to make so many decisions on a pitch, first of all his decisions or her decisions, and then from the parent, and then from the coach. So I recommend to every parent, which I'm sure they're very aware of, is to just let their kids play and enjoy it. If they're not up to a certain standard which they expect, that's also okay, because we have centres where, for example, a kicks program, which is more based around all abilities, and they can join them sessions. And there's also a pathway where they can join the development centre if we feel that they have the ability to possibly progress into the academy. I know I sort of went on a bit there, but
no, that's great to hear, because as a parent, you would want to hear that that's what it should be about at their age, enjoying it and making sure it's fun first. You know, the young kids at that age that you're speaking about, that's what they should be doing. They should all be out there enjoying it. They shouldn't be put under too much pressure to be this, that or the other. It's about enjoyment, isn't it?
Yeah, I 100% agree and can resonate with that. And again, especially, you know, being Millwall, I remember even when I was growing up, it's a big club in South London. It's known. If you hear about the academy, you always, if you want to be in football, you hear Millwall, Crystal Palace, and whatever, Fulham's, but you hear about these clubs and you do want to get involved. But again, I think not putting too much pressure on the kids, in a nutshell, and making sure that the kids have fun. And just to answer the second part of your question, it currently consists of anyone coming to join. You have a free session. So after the free session, it's £20 a month, and it's sort of rolling. Again, after the free session, the coaches, it's a sort of like a trial, let's say, but at the same time for both, not just for the development centre, but primarily for the kid, to make sure that whether this is the right environment, or maybe I need to develop away from this a bit further, for example, grassroots, and then take on the next step. So yeah, that's sort of the process. You come along, you have a session for free, and then you be then invited to come back, and it'll be £20 a month from then. And it's really worth it, because again, the facilities are outstanding, the coaches are really good, you will develop a lot, because the focus is a lot around sort of, you know, academy standard training, elite training, and it's really specific to that. We have a program in where we have a 6-week program, and then we play like matches against other grassroots clubs, other academies. So yeah, that's how you get on board.
Well, that was great, Pat. Absolutely great, Pat. I was thinking about Ted, because Sean has been after Ted. Sean Daly's been after Ted to join the walk-in football for quite some time now. Him and Stan and George. So
if I'm honest, Pat, I'm waiting for the standing still football. I've got to be honest, at my age.
Sorry, that was actually one of my special mentions, which again, just not what I do as well, what the trust do as a whole. For example, there is the kicks program and the walk-in football, which I hadn't actually experienced that before until I come on board, and I was asked to help out Steve with the refereeing first week, and it was really enjoyable. I actually wanted to play, but yeah, I thought I'd probably get in trouble if I did. But yeah, there's really good programs. There's Man v Fat, which again I spoke to the person who coordinates that, and it's really good because they play matches, but it doesn't matter on the result really. It matters on how much weight the person has dropped, and that counts as a goal. And I think it's a really good initiative. We have Pan Disability Sports, so we do lots as a community, and it's continuing to grow. So what I would say is keep yourself updated on the website, because it's an exciting time for the trust and a really exciting time for Millwall, hopefully going to the Premier League next year.
Let's be hopeful. And talking about that, going to the Premier League next year, it's a tradition when you come on the show here, you've got to give us a prediction. So, Millwall v Norwich City on Saturday. Please, can we have a prediction?
Yes, of course. A pleasure. So, I'm going for 2-1.
Yeah.
2.
Millwall. That's all right then.
And I'm going 1-1 half-time and Bradshaw to score in the last 10 minutes.
Remember that Myles Thornton, because he'll be reporting for Maritime Radio on it. So bring that into the plan.
Pat said it first.
Yeah, he said it first. That's it. Pat said it first. Look, Pat, thanks for joining us this evening. We will keep an eye out for how things go. And what I've got to say is don't hesitate to get in touch if you need to get information out there to parents, to people about what's going on. We're always happy to accommodate. So all the best to you and yours, Pat. Until the next time, bye for now.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for having me on board.
Cheers,
and
Pat.
I look forward to, keeping in touch.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
All the best, Pat. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
Yeah.
Thanks, Pat.
Thanks, Pat.
Millwall, let's go.
Well, that was nice, wasn't it, eh? He's energetic in what he wants to do. So, there we are. We'll take a break there and listen to Debbie Julians with Harvey Brown talking of the Lions food hubbing.
Let's hear from Harvey Brown.
Have you heard of the Lions Food Hub? That Millwall Lioness Kelly Webster is involved. Don't forget to help the Lions Food Hub if you can. Thank you.
As Harvey said, they need your support. If you can help, and you can make a one-off or a regular monetary donation at Banquet, that is BANKUET. You will find them online. Insert www.banquet.co.uk/Lions Food Hub into your browser. I'll say that again. www.banquet.co.uk/Lions Food Hub. And the Lions Food Hub is all one word. On match days, you can make food and toiletry donations at the Lions Food Hub, which is opposite the 1885 bar at the Cold Blow Lane end of the ground. Alternatively, you can also contact the team via the Lions Food Hub Twitter or Facebook sites.
I'm your host, Eamonn Barclay, and with me I have no one likes us talking team of Dave Hart, Ted Robinson and Myles Thornton. Well, it's 2 years since that hub's been going, more than 2 years. I never foresee these food hubs lasting or even being a permanent fixture. Nonetheless, Kelly and Ellen Webster, all the Hubster team, their sponsors and those that donate are making such a difference in supporting those that are at risk. You can help them, only if you can, as the country sadly remains in recession. Well, we're all looking forward to when Saturday comes and the Canaries visit the Den. But in the meantime, here are a few matters of interest to Millwall fans.
There's an evening with Roy Lana, hosted by Jeff Burnage at the Lions Centre in Ballina Road, SE16, which takes place on Tuesday, the 14th of March, from 5:30pm. The Lion of London Bridge books will be available to purchase, and Roy will sign books ahead of the main event at 6:15. The event will finish at around 7:15 p.m. ahead of the Millwall game against Swansea City to allow the fans to get to their seats. Light refreshments and snacks will be available from Harvey's Den Cafe within the event venue. Entry can be gained by booking in advance and making a donation on the night to the Harvey Brown MPS Society, who support families with MPS and similar disorders that cause a range of progressive disabilities. Book now by emailing kbennett@millwallcommunity.org.uk. I'll repeat that, k.bennett, BENNETT, @millwallcommunity.org.uk to reserve your seat. Ticket availability is limited.
Next Friday, the wonderful Bethany is our host with the panel of the not so wonderful Jeff, Stan, but the lovely Debbie. There will be a couple of guests and a review of the Norwich game and what is coming up. Additionally, Dockers Day will return for the first time since 2019 for our game against Huddersfield Town at the Den on Saturday the 18th of March, that's brilliant. And despite the rail strike, Chris Bethel will go ahead with the event. Our very own Phil Coleman will be there with his teammates of the FA Youth Cup winning side, what a side that was, of 1978 and 79, to meet and greet the Dockers. Former Dockers from the London Docks had a great tradition in following Millwall and will be guests on the day. Watch out for further details.
You heard from our sponsored Lionesses Jade Keogh and Grace Seeley at the beginning of the show, so why not sponsor a Lionesses kit like us to help them get back to where they belong? If you are an organisation, you can get fantastic exposure opportunities for your business, just like Victory Goalkeeper Gloves, Andy Rothery, Impetus Women's Football, Megan, Jay and Lola Baxter, Gianluca Sardi, and as mentioned, ourselves. On top of seeing your name on the club website, you will be able to enjoy a range of benefits such as a signed shirt, meet your sponsored player, 3 invitations to a VIP sponsor day, a free season ticket to all home games and a presentation photo. Kit sponsorship is priced at £160 plus VAT. To purchase, get in touch with the Lionesses by emailing Kelly Webster on kwebster@millwallcommunity.org.uk. I'll say that again, kwebster@millwallcommunity.org.uk.
Don't forget, you'll be able to listen to the No One Likes Us talking team, bring reports from our games both home and away for both the Lions and Lionesses, and also updates on the Millwall Community Trust matters too, on Maritime Radio, broadcasting on 96.5 FM. Or you can go on their website and hear it directly there. Additionally, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Reddit, Tumblr, Twitter, and other social media sites and all popular podcast sites. Thanks and good night, Dave.
Good night, all.
Thanks and good night, Ted.
Good night, all.
And thanks and good night, Myles.
Good night, all.
Finally, let's not forget to keep it safe on the streets out there. Good night and many thanks for listening to the No One Likes Us talking team.